Welcome back to the Trusted Visions podcast series. We hope that everybody's having a good week, and we're back this week to continue on the topic for the month of making a broker-dealer change and considerations to think about. Today's topic well aligns and parallels with last week's topic of how do you know the appropriate amount of due diligence to conduct on the broker-dealers that you're doing due diligence on. And so with that being said, I wanted to hand this over to Deb and ask her the first question of when you're doing due diligence on a broker dealer, it can become a full-time job for an advisor, which takes away from their clients. You can have the recruiter with the broker dealer coming to visit you. You could be doing all kinds of different demos. You can have several different conference calls, and that's just with one broker dealer. And so how do you know, or what suggestion would you give on the appropriate amount of due diligence for a financial advisor to do on each broker dealer, and what you think that includes? Does it include demos? And if so, what demos? Does it include face-to-face meetings? Who should be involved in those face-to-face meetings? How do you gather your advisors together if you're a large group to make sure everybody's on the same page? There's so many considerations. And like I said, this could be a full-time job. So in all the years that you've done this, what advice can you provide to financial advisors and or OSJs on conducting the appropriate amount of due diligence on each broker dealer they're exploring? Uh-oh, we lost you there for a second, Deb. Okay, now we can hear you.
Now you can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I thanks again, Jeremy, for this topic and continuing on this series. I think it's a great one for advisors to think about. And over the years, I think the first thing that advisors need to do is they need to be strategic and organized, maximize their efficiency, right? Because like you said, you can spend a lot of time and take away from your business, right? Which hurts your revenue with the amount of time that you're spending on it. So when I say be strategic and organized, I think you start with a spreadsheet that on that you put the things that are important to you and to your team and your firm, right? So you want to list out things that you really need to take a look at. You need to make sure that your BD has, this will help in the time. What does that look like? Clearing firm, your technology needs, the product list, making sure that you're looking at a firm that has what you need on that product list, platforms, payout, right? Because that still is important. You want to make sure that you're getting something that's comparable. And then you're going to, that way you're going to look at firms that are going to meet those needs. You're going to you start with an initial call with the recruiter, right? So you're calling the recruiter and you're going through the spreadsheet, making sure that you have all of your questions answered and that firm can represent what you potentially want to look at and make a move to. So you've got that initial call. You typically want to do a technology call. Right, again, that you're going over all the platforms and making sure that all your needs are being addressed, that your firm currently has, or that you're looking at getting, right? Because again, sometimes advisors are looking at firms because they're not getting what they need from their existing firm, right? So making sure that they have what you need to do your business, as well as what you might be looking for to help grow your business, or what your needs are moving forward as well. Do a technology demo. Depending upon, again, every advisor's needs going to be different. If you're doing a lot of fee-based business, I would suggest having a call with, the fee-based planning team, right? And making sure and kind of going through what that platform looks like, making sure that, again, you've got all your needs addressed there. So again, initial call, technology demo, maybe a fee-based demo. Meet with the recruiter, have the recruiter come to your office. If it's feasible, right, depending upon where they're at, have them come to your office. And definitely, number one, over these almost 30 years, which I hate to say out loud, of working with advisors, the home office visit, I just think that it is imperative, right? I think that that's the key thing, because you need to go, you need to look at people in the face, you need to meet who the leaders are of the firm, and you got to get that good feeling. And you really, to me, it's just harder to do if you're not meeting. You don't go to the home office and see people face to face, see what the firm looks like. And again, I've always have said when you meet someone, if you wouldn't have them over to your house for dinner, why would you want to do business with them? I don't know why that. I think an old boss of mine said that a long time ago, and I've always have said that, and I think that's important. So that's kind of, I guess, in my years, and there's so much, Jeremy, like you said, that you can go into, and we want to keep these short, but I think that hopefully I hit on some really key things as far as being strategic. And again, I think the spreadsheet's important just because it really keeps you focused on what the needs are of you, your firm, and your advisors, right? If you have advisors as part of your team, and making sure that you want to keep those, that's going to let you go forward. Because again, the key thing here, and I'd love to tell you to work with an outside recruiter, right? Because that really saves you time. Because what you see, what I've seen over the years is these advisors just get, do due diligence on way too many firms, right? And it takes away from your business. Advisors can spend a year looking at firms and doing due diligence on them and doing home office visits. And so I think, again, if you put everything down, and you know for sure what you're looking for, you should be able to pare that number of firms you're looking down from the get-go, to a certain number, so that you're not wasting too much of your valuable time, and taking away from your business.
Right. And Deb, I guess 3 brief follow-up questions. I'll just do one at a time. My opinion has always been, advisors have this expectation of what to expect with new broker dealers, whether it's payout, whether it's upfront money. What's your opinion of, similar to that spreadsheet, making sure on that initial call, you're addressing some of those things that can be deal breakers right off the bat, and you can eliminate them and not waste so much time? Good, bad, what's your opinion of that one?
That's a great follow-up question. And first of all, I do think you've got to get those deal breakers out first and foremost. As a recruiter, when I've worked with firms, or even on my own, I'm always asking advisors upfront, what's your deal breaker? Because I think you do need to get those out of the way from the get-go. So if you're an advisor and you're talking to a firm on the phone, and you say, I have to have Pershing as a clearing firm, or deal breaker is X product, or it's that I have to be able to have my own RIA, whatever that is, or I want 95% payout. I'm just, again, throwing out things here, but whatever that deal breaker is, you need to ask up front, because you do not want to waste your time. So that's a great question. I think you get it out, you get the elephant, address the elephant in the room right away, Jeremy.
And then the second follow-up question out of the 3 is, and I know we've all had this as recruiters with a broker dealer, advisors, especially advisors of size, will say, hey, I want to talk to 2, 3, 4 of your advisors just to see what they think, which I'm not saying is a bad idea, but let's be honest with each other. We, or those recruiters with those broker dealers, are more than likely giving them the names and referrals of advisors that are over the top of the moon of the broker dealer. What's your opinion of those referrals versus doing a little bit of research and finding advisors, whether it's in your area or scattered, of advisors that aren't necessarily referred to you by that broker dealer, and you reaching out directly to them to get an unbiased opinion that's not necessarily teed up for them?
Well, I would hope that as recruiters with firms, that you are giving referrals of just people that meet the requirements or the needs of the advisor that's looking at them, number one, right? So while you're right, most of the time you're going to say, well, call so-and-so, so-and-so, because you've got a list of advisors that, that you've worked with and that work well with the firm. I can tell you, and I'll get real quick on it, but I can also tell you that I have, over the years, just given out names of advisors and been open and said, hey, they may not like everything, about our firm. I don't know what they're going to tell you, but they've been with the firm or they do this or that, and they'll meet your needs to get a good reference point. Absolutely. If an advisor wants just an unbiased, so to speak, opinion, they can do that. They can do some due diligence on their own, whether or not it's, I suppose, looking at LinkedIn and, searching a certain firm, or, a lot of times advisors will come to broker dealers, as we all know, based on a referral from a wholesaler. And I think that's a great way also, by the way, for advisors to, in their due diligence, to come up with a list of names, is to talk to people that they work with, right? Talk to their platform sponsors or their products or their wholesalers, to say, hey, who do you work with that that would be someone good for me to talk to? And maybe that wholesaler knows some names of some people that he also works with at that firm that he could give the advisor their names as a referral. That would be a good way to go as well. I got to be honest with you, Jeremy. I'm not sure I've ever had an advisor say, "Well, I went out on my own and looked for somebody."
Agreed.
They wouldn't tell me that, so I guess that, but it's a good way to do it.
So last follow-up question, Deb, and then David, I promise we'll give you a turn, is I think we would all be in agreement of how vital that home office visit is and meeting the people you're going to be doing business with. In addition to that, most of the time that advisors or OSJs go into the home office visit, depending on their size, they're meeting with typically the top level executives, the department heads. How important is it for that to be intermixed with meeting people, even if it's during a home office tour, that you're meeting people that you're going to be doing the day-to-day business with, in compensation, in technology, in marketing? How important, understanding the home office visit's important, how important is it to meet those frontline people during that visit?
No, key, right? So typically, if you're going to a home office visit, you're going to have a senior leadership team that comes out maybe first thing in the morning and just makes an introduction. If a firm is doing it right, what they're going to do from there is they're then going to, anybody else that comes in to meet with you, you're probably going to have a manager of that area that's going to come in and give you an overview, but you're also going to have maybe that person that you might be working with, depending upon the size of the firm, right? So specifically having the marketing people, specifically having the compliance, your supervisor, or someone that's in the home office, if they do home office supervision, that is directly responsible for you, right? So you're getting that one-on-one with that person that you're going to be talking to on a day-to-day basis with issues, right? Or the person in operations that actually does the work that you call into. You've got to have those introductions, and in any firm that you look at should be having those people in front of you, so that you're getting, they know who you are and you know who they are, right? Because I've always said, when you call into a firm, anytime you can put a face to that person. So if you've gone to a home office visit and you meet them in person and then they're calling back in, I just think that it's vital to any relationship.
Yep.
In a firm, yeah.
Perfect. David, I picked on you a little bit last week with a topic that I didn't want to go down a tangent, and this is going to be another one of those that I really don't want to address because I'll go off on a tangent. But I think it's vital, as Deb mentioned, and we all agree, doing the appropriate amount of due diligence on a broker-dealer can be extremely time-consuming. It can take 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever that time frame may be. And by the time you finish it, you forget what firm A is offering because you went through 10, 15 different firms. We at Trusted Visions, I know, take a different approach of, we don't just hand off a name to every firm we have a relationship with and hope it closes. We take a very hands-on approach. But we also know that there's firms out there and broker dealers where you're basically, or even advisors that are looking at 10, 15, 20, 30 broker dealers. What is your suggestion and opinion to advisors or advice to advisors of how many broker dealers do you start and conduct your due diligence on? And then how do you scale that down to getting to that final pick?
Absolutely. And I think both you and Deb did a great job. It's when you're looking at starting the due diligence process, it's overwhelming. You've got, you could get bogged down in the details, the devil's in the details on a lot of those things. You could be bogged down for a year and a half doing it and trying to do it appropriately and which ones to pick, so on and so forth. And you hit the nail on the head. Working with an independent third party recruiting firm like Trusted Visions, that's one of the biggest values that we bring to the table. Once you've made that decision that you want to start looking at broker dealers, we will have a consultation phone call with you, figure out what your needs are, kind of look at your scorecard, help you kind of navigate spreadsheet, what should be on there. And talking about what we did last week when it comes to the report card. What are the key fundamentals that you need to have in your business that your broker dealer needs to support? So we'll help you navigate that. And the short answer is you should be looking probably to start at 3 to 5 broker dealers to start the due diligence process on. I think in our current environment, when there's been such a consolidation, there's just wasting your time. You get over 5 to 10 broker dealers if you're spending that much time on. You hit the nail on the head, Jeremy. It's a mirage of numbers, figures, facts, and you can get overwhelmed with that. And again, it takes you away from your business. If you can narrow it down to 3 to 5 to start the due diligence process on, you can weed through and maybe get down to 1 or 2. And when I'm looking at visiting or really digging into the weeds, doing home office visits, really, time straining activities, going out and meeting them meeting you, you should max of 2 to 3. And my experience has always said you really need to narrow it down to about 2, because that gives you the availability to look at what you have and stack that side by side through a spreadsheet, what have you, to be able to digest that information, look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because one of the most obscure things in our business is we've all been recruiters, and I'm sure every advisor has dealt with a recruiter out there. If you start with a recruiter that works with one firm, you're going to get one size fits all, and they're going to try to pound that square peg into a round hole. You're always going to find a reason, well, this may not fit your practice perfectly, but we have a nuance or another way to look at it to get it so our broker dealer fits the needs that you're looking at. You want a holistic approach first. You want to be able to make sure that topic A matches up with topic A and topic B matches up with topic B first and foremost. And from there, that'll help you derive whether you need to make any kind of concessions and also figure out what kind of packages you can put together when looking at those deals.
Perfect. And David, I guess one question for you, and I would love to hear your opinion on this, is I always tell advisors, you never want to eliminate it down to one. You want to, as you put it, have, a couple broker dealers and then go visit them. And it gives you as the advisor, the OSJ, the enterprise, negotiating power, even if one's, swayed more toward your favor than the other. What's your opinion of that? When you talk about visiting home office or doing home office visits and negotiating, how far do you narrow that list down before you start getting into those negotiations?
You're absolutely correct. You want 2 to 3 at max. And in 2, you're absolutely correct. We're all in the business. Everybody wants to be wanted. Everybody wants to be invited to the dance. Being able to take that information and negotiate that inside of your home office visits is a good thing. Talking about what firm A and firm B and being able to negotiate those topics back and forth it gives you a huge advantage as an advisor, knowing going in what you're getting from one firm, where you stack up. And yes, there may be a couple of concessions you have to make to get this BD to fit your business or vice versa. It's going to give you the strength. It's going to give you the negotiating power, knowing both sides of that story. And there's no better facts than that. If you're coming in not really sure what to ask, and that's where, working with somebody with Trusted Visions helps. We'll be able to help you navigate and ask the right questions so you can get the best answer to that question. Because what you want to find out in your due diligence is simply that. It's not all the warm and fuzzy. It's not talking about leadership. It's not talking about everybody that's been committed to that business forever. You want to know the good, which everybody's great at telling you about all the good stuff. You want to know the bad, where the bad's going to come into play, and everybody wants to know the ugly. If you want to make an educated decision on what you want to do as far as making a move when it comes to your business, you got to know the ugly, whether you need to have that discussion and find out how it's going to affect you, your clients, your other advisors, and vice versa.
Perfect. And so with that being said, our goal has always been to keep these brief and concise. We hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. Our goal with these weekly podcasts is to bring informative, useful, educational topics and bring answers to those topics for you as advisors and financial professionals. Any suggestions that any of you have out there that you want us to cover, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us at info@trustedvisions.com. We will be back next week. As always, Deb, David, thank you so much for taking part in this. We greatly appreciate your experience and your expertise and look forward to next week.